But hello, everyone, and welcome to Elite Insight, your AEW pay-per-view review squad here on the BC WrestlePod Network Conglomeration Syndicate, YouTube, Twitch, dumb podcasting thing. We do every day of the week except for Thursdays. Except for next week.
Fuck you, Thursday. Sorry. It's too soon. Sorry.
Demonetized. It's okay. Well, we're
My
already
fault.
here.
We're going to lose money on that one. My fault.
It's fine. It is going to be it's basically that is the energy we are bringing this evening because AEW Dynasty, I will say this right now, was great. And then for the second pay-per-view in a row this year and third pay-per-view in a row for AEW, I'm like, what the whack is this ending? So
Box.
you like shield your eyes. I'm like,
was that the
what?
Independence Day alien? Release me.
We're about to release all these demons upon AEW Dynasty, as we're calling it right now.
Oh, Dynasty.
But I am here with the full squad here this evening. First and foremost, you gotta love, making his appearance, sharing a character trait of Ricochet, the bald man that we actually love. The professor is here.
You're too kind.
Will not pull a Ricochet and slap your bald head. No promises, though.
It hurts. Full disclosure, I've only seen bits and pieces and know what I've read and seen recaps all day because I've been grading and teaching and busy all weekend. So I have more questions than answers, but I will act like an expert if put on the spot. So I'm happy to do that.
The questions are worthwhile. You should ask them because I think our audience will have the same ones. It'll be nice to
For real.
audience interaction, that voice for them.
So what does that mean?
I have no idea where I am right now, guys.
I mean, you're not exactly wrong. And then, of course, rounding out the trifecta of dudes here in this chat is, of course, Mr. Megan Bain Murray himself, JVL.
I gotta keep it going.
Somebody has to.
I think I can
My heart must go.
But I got there.
Hey, Katsuyori ciabatta bread is great.
It's delicious.
That would probably be delicious. That is.
But I love this name too, as well. My goodness. So, before we get into AEW Dynasty or Dynasty, if you're Janet Jackson, if you like what you see on your screen here, or if you don't, that is okay. We love you either way, and you want to either praise us, check out our stuff, or to send us hate mail, you can check out our social medias at
Please pay us to be quiet. We were happy to take your money.
For reals. Seriously. Listen, we broke bees out here, okay? We're trying to keep this empire going. We got
subscribe and hate mail, like everything.
Hate mail.
Everything's there.
Listen, you've made it on the internet when people try to come for you. Like, for some reason, that's the way to mark progress in 2025 on the internet.
You said
the same with teachers.
Same.
If you're the teacher that everyone hates, you're doing something right.
Listen, normally it would be something that me and you, Professor, can only understand, but you know what? JBL gets like a pass this time around because he understands it now. Congratulations. Welcome to the Hellfire Club. That is the education system.
Oh, is he teaching now?
I'm at the step below it. Yeah, I'm basically like a glorified coach, but I'm still dealing with high schoolers. So
that's a different
tone to the club.
That's a different flavor of hell. We'll discuss. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk afterwards because listen, JBL and Professor know I teach the kids of mid-end school, so that's also a whole can of worms.
Dynasty was so good. We're talking about our jobs.
Yes, exactly.
No, honestly, if I had to give my initial thoughts before going into match and by match, well, my biggest critique is the fact that most of these matches outside of tournament, there's not a lot of story or very little story for some of those matches. And then we have matches that have kind of stories going into this, but save everything for the very end because the internet already was on fire after Sunday evening and is still currently on fire by how people feel about this. Inspector Gadget, what the flip?
Please let that be. It's not Aleister Black comes back. It's Claw shows up.
That'd be amazing, but no. Tune in on Sunday as we talk about who Randy Orton's opponent might be at WrestleMania if he gets another WrestleMania.
Please be Dr. Claw.
AEW right now, all right? Come on, we have to get through Dynasty first. I mean, we'll say this for it. The crowd in Philadelphia, as usual, amazing. The length of this pay-per-view, what in the God Sunday night?
It was like 4.5 hours. I'm like, what the flip is this?
There were at least 2 matches that we could have taken off of this pretty easily and still had a decent pay-per-view.
This is a thing now? All these pay-per-views or premium live events are now 3, 4, 5, 6 hours long in some cases, whole day long events.
Listen, I will just put this in perspective. There were 3 shows I had to cover this weekend for this upcoming week. Dynasty was the one that killed me with its length. New Japan and CMLL was not even that long.
Mikey,
And Lord knows New Japan likes to go long too.
Are you having trouble with length right now, Mikey? Is what you're saying?
No comment.
I'm just gonna say the girth of GCW. I mean, that was a good 4 or 5 hours.
Well, you better be pissed.
But there was also a 45-minute. The last one I watched a few months back, there was like a 45-minute injury in the middle of the whole thing. But still, like
this is again why I keep saying we have to watch Mystery Wrestling because it's in, out, you're done. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that review in a couple of weeks. But
since we're talking about it, 2 of the things I've been reading about Dynasty, this one's coming from, which one's this one? This is a What Culture one, and then another one was Fightful. They said the same thing. By hour 3, the fans were dead and trying really hard to stay engaged. And sadly, at the end of the night, they were just, wait, what? They weren't left on that high. They were just
I can't believe
flattened.
I'm about to say this, but if you're going to do these long pay-per-views, which AEW likes to do, maybe start an hour earlier instead of starting at 5 p.m. Pacific. Start at 4 p.m. Pacific.
Especially on a Sunday night.
Yes. Saturday, I couldn't care less because it's a Saturday. But Sunday, I got to work in the morning. Anyways, moving on. So, we kick 0 Hour off really quickly with this 6-man tag team match. Nick Wang and crew taking on AR Fox and Top Flight. This match was actually really entertaining. It should have opened the show. Yes. Friend of the podcast, AR Fox. Love him. He's great. Yeah, this was really entertaining. It's what I expected from pretty much all 6 of these boys, given the fact that they fly all over the place. It was fantastic. And I kind of wish it was on the main card instead. And we could have switched something else out. We'll get to the match that I feel like could have been removed to give this match. But Nick Wayne and crew do win against AR Fox and Top Flight. But man, AR Fox was such a pop and a support from the crowd. Love it. This was a fantastic high-flying match. And it gives Nick Wayne something because Nick Wayne's probably going to be gone from television for a little bit because Homeboy got invited by New Japan to compete in the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. So that's going to be fun to watch him in there.
I'm surprised his father's letting him go abroad. It's crazy.
Christian Cage is nowhere to be seen. Anyways, this was a great match. I do actually recommend people go out of their way to watch it because it was a lot of fun. Also, because I love seeing AR Fox finally get the moment he deserves.
Oh, he deserves it all over the place.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I know we talked about it on one of the Dynamite reviews not too long ago. He was just gone for a chunk of time, correct?
Well, that's because he made a big mistake and he was paying for it.
And he admitted it on his social media afterwards, and even now, like being able to get the spot where he is now, making the big mistake, and the fact that he got a second chance, he gonna let it slip by again. So that's I'm like, we love growth in people.
Again, we're back to length, Mikey. I don't know what you keep talking about here. It's just a little bit tough that we have to keep coming back to that subject, but
right here. Anyways, yes, please match.
Yeah, those are the sounds, Professor, I was thinking of. Yes,
it's everybody's favorite wrestler, Max Caster, next.
Oh, I heard about this. Didn't Bowen actually answer his challenge?
So good.
He was
so good.
Dressed like the Gay Legion of Doom.
And I'm here for it.
That's the ambiguously gay duo uniform, isn't it?
It really is. It's so good.
He literally is wearing a crop top. Like, I love this so much.
Underboob.
Oh, my goodness. The Google. So Max Caster has his open challenge again after making fun of Philadelphia and making them mad with the sports references and everything. We do find out who answers the challenge. It is the 5-piece player, Anthony Bowens, with Daddy.
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
Love it.
It's less
Anthony Bowens being accompanied by Daddy Ass himself, Mr. Billy Gunn, makes quick work of Max Caster. Listen, the pop was great. Everybody loves Anthony Bowens, and he is going to be he is pushing the gay agenda, and I'm here for it.
But will they allow him to push it any farther? Because where does this go from here?
That is very true as well.
Sorry, my mic's on? Shit.
Yeah, that was on purpose. Anthony Bowens is back. Hopefully this means something for him. Please don't disappoint me, AEW, that more than you've already done so after this pay-per-view. No, I can't say that. I enjoyed it, but the ending was wild. So that was 0 Hour. I do recommend that 6-man tag team match. And you know what? I would recommend this too because Anthony Bowens is back. So support him.
I mean, I can see his front right now.
That is so. We then get into the main card. We open things up with a men's Owen Hart tournament quarterfinal match.
So amazing.
Will Ospreay versus the newest to AEW, the Jet, Kevin Knight. This was, as the kids say, a banger. This was such a good match.
This is a replacement match because this was supposed to be Jay White until he got injured.
Hey, you know what? Blessings in disguise, man. Kevin Knight gets to be out here, gets to be on a pay-per-view so early, being signed to AEW. And he gets to fight Will Ospreay of all people.
They were in the deep water from the beginning of this, and it was just back and forth. Like Ospreay can carry anybody, and he didn't have to do half the work he usually does. He's so good.
When did Kevin Knight get thrown into this?
Last week.
Just last week, right? Like there was a whole lot of time for these. Incredible.
Jay White went out after he fought Kevin Knight. Jay White fought Kevin Knight 2 weeks ago. Then it comes out that Jay White has a major injury. So Kevin Knight had already been brought in as like, here's the new AEW signing and thrown right in the tournament because he's known Will Ospreay for years and he's been in New Japan. Like this was going to be a banger no matter what they did.
All the short 15, 30-second clips, bits and pieces that I've seen of this are just crazy looking. So I really want to go back and find this.
No breath taken in this match. I think there was one little rest where they kind of looked at each other like, okay, all right. And then they just went. There was no stop. And the respect at the end, like, no turn, nothing else. They get the respect at it. Will gets his time there.
The fans were cheering for Kevin, apparently. They're chanting Jet the entire time, which is crazy.
Yeah, Ospreay, Jet. It was crazy. But then I got to say, from a staging thing, I'm like, I get why they do it, but you have him pointing to the All In sign. Like, I'm like, seriously, we don't need that. We already have this for WrestleMania. We don't need this in the other company with you pointing to, and it's not even a cool like sign in the middle of the crowd. It's just another like LED board that has a TV screen. And it could be photoshopped to be anything he's pointing to.
That's a meme idea right there. Just make it a green screen and let the fans choose what we're pointing at. There's a lot of jokes in there.
Oh, absolutely. But Will Ospreay does win. He moves on to the semifinal. And so, I mean, I figured Will was going to win this match anyways, but I was entertained from beginning to end. Good job on Kevin. Will Ospreay's great, but yeah, Kevin Knight, you got some time, my dude, and I loved it. He's also going to be so good.
The hops, like getting that jumping standing frog splash, the turnaround. I think didn't you do a standing shooting star press? Like I have no idea. Insane stuff.
Listen, I love that Kevin Knight is getting the more recognition that he already is, because given the fact that I'm used to him and us over at the Total Nonstop Action crew also is very used to Kevin Knight and New Japan. But I'm so happy he's getting more exposure like this in AEW. Please don't screw this up.
Well,
I mean, to be fair, it took us how long before we had our first black world champion? Just saying. We move on from a very fantastic Owen Hart match to, you know what?
This was a great Dynamite match.
Yes. That's the nicest way to put it.
Nothing special, nothing terrible. Brian Keith played his role as the smallest guy in there.
Jeez
Louise. We knew who was winning going into this. We knew how it was going to happen. They sold for Large William very well. I didn't think they would give him that much, and they did. But yeah, this was a Dynamite tag match. This was not a pay-per-view level match.
I don't know if the Learning Tree is a pay-per-view pull, right? Which you could argue. Sort of, this doesn't. I'm still not sure why these two are tagged together, other than being in the Learning Tree angle. Right? They don't really
have tree-themed nicknames now.
Oh, I see.
It's the Redwood and the Bad Apple. Don't you see the connection?
And my brain hurts. I will go back and watch Dynasty when it's not expensive. But I don't. Did Bobby and Sheldon need this match? Did this give anything to them? Like, was there a reason to? I don't know.
I think
the angle at the end.
Oh yeah, and then MJF helping, Hurt Syndicate out in order to win this match too, because like we talked about last week, MJF agreed to join the Hurt Syndicate, but Bobby and Shelton are like, nah, bro, we don't want this. And so MJF, I guess, quote unquote, proved that, he wants to be part of Hurt Syndicate and he's willing to do business with them and do whatever it takes. So honestly, MJF's involvement really didn't need to be there, in the sense that his help did not really add to, oh my gosh, it's the decisive victory. No, it was just there to cause shenanigans for shenanigans' sakes.
Again, Dynamite angle. There was no reason for this on pay-per-view.
But hey, the Hurt Syndicate retained. We have to assume that probably Murder Machines are next, right? Because that's still the thing we've been teasing between these two teams. So
the newly minted FTR Dark.
We will get to Rated FTR no more.
Spoilers.
I mean, let's be real. We're 2 days out from the pay-per-view. The rest of the internet and everybody else has talked about it. So now it's our turn.
Yeah, but the professor hasn't watched it.
It was spoiled for me. I had no chance.
Wow, a Vince McMahon reference already. That's just crazy.
Wow, that's okay. Professor this year.
Why you have to say it like that?
As punishment, you must help out next week. I'm just kidding. No, me and Andrew are going to reach out to you very shortly, because Professor, you need to be on one of these things next week.
We'll talk about it. I'll do what I can. We'll talk about it.
Be like, you have no excuse. This was an Owen Hart women's tournament quarterfinal match, if you want to call it. Mercedes Moné versus the Dark Princess herself, Julia Hart. I want to start off with the positives. Julia's best match so far in AEW.
Yeah.
She did great. I thought which is crazy to say, she was the one running point for the majority of this match, which was wild to say. And Mercedes Moné was there.
So Mikey, I'm going to stop you there. You keep saying her name, Mercedes' name. We have to remember how she was introduced on the night because of the extensive fireworks she had, which was Mercedes. Because Justin Roberts could not say her last name and tried to over what ostensibly was every firework in the building going off, which was the most energy Mercedes had for this.
That's where all the pyro budget went in the show.
God, that and the fire for later. But what I don't get is this. I understand that there is like a storyline that's already pre-built into this tournament. We know who's really going to be in the ending parts of this is what they want to do. But the wrong person won here. The momentum was not on Mercedes' side to begin with. She didn't need this. Honestly, it would have been the best thing in the world for an early upset to throw her into a tizzy as a heel that Julia beat her. The crowd wanted it. We all wanted it. But no, we get stuck with Mercedes Moné botching an arm drag, trying really hard to set up her finisher that didn't work, hurting herself coming off a rope, and nearly did she drop Julia on her face? Or like she elbowed her in the nose or something, like almost re-injured Julia Hart in this match.
It was rough to watch.
That's rough. Yeah, everything I've read was saying that this wasn't bad. It had its flaws, but the crowd was clearly there for Julia like the whole time.
This was the best Mercedes Moné match in the last year, and she still was not the best person in the match. And I'm not saying that to denigrate her. Since she has been on this belt collector kick and since she got the TBS championship, I don't know whether she's not putting the time in or just something is off. But every opponent she's gone against, and they have been a varied group, she seems to have the middle of the match and a couple times after where there's just a miscommunication. She's not able to recover, and unless she's in there with a strong competitor, which we didn't even think Julia would be, she can't recover from it. Whereas Julia carried her right to the end and got her there ostensibly to get the win and sucked the life out of the arena at that point.
Yeah,
and that her moonsault was picture perfect.
I gotta look at this again. Did they mess up the finishes, or was it just
clunky as hell? And it was brilliant in a couple places where like the transition between Heartless to the Statement Maker and back and forth is great. And Mercedes let her get a couple of them in there. The crucifix bomb didn't work. Like Mercedes couldn't get herself into it. There was a misstep in one of the pins where they couldn't get the flip over, and it was not on Julia. Julia had set herself up. Mercedes just either couldn't bend that way or couldn't let her know that she wasn't in the right position. It was just bizarre.
Which is rough. Because, well, I mean, it's rough for Julia because of the fact that, it sucks because she's in this tournament. She's in the prominent position. I would have loved to see her go to the next round. Of course, she wasn't going to make it to the finals anyways, but like, I'm tired of the women who have been here from the very beginning and are quote unquote your homegrown in AEW be sacrificed to the people they bring in.
Well, especially now because Mercedes wouldn't be hurt by this loss. There is nothing that would take her down from her belt collector. She's not in there for that. She doesn't win the Owen Hart, which she doesn't need. She's a champion, and it would catapult Julia. I get that they have a story they've had in mind. Pull that out of the tournament and do that separately. It doesn't need to be in the tournament.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be real, I feel like you could pull Athena and Mercedes out and replace them with two other women on this roster that you can have, because look, the finals on this side of the bracket, because I already knew Julia wasn't going to beat Mercedes, and as much as I love her to death, Harley has no chance against Athena.
No.
Which makes me mad because I feel like Harley should have at least gotten close. Like, have her get the win in the first round and then lose in the second. But Mercedes and Athena, listen, I prefer Athena over Mercedes. Everybody knows this, but they both do not need to be in here. They could have their own separate feud. So I'm just saying, as much as I love Athena and she's probably going to make the finals at Double or Nothing, I'm rooting for Chris and I'm rooting for Jamie to win this tournament. Like, those are my two picks, is Jamie and Chris.
Well, we need something on that. I mean, Professor, we didn't get to ask you when they announced the brackets last week, though, but I think you've taken a look at them at least once. You've seen who's in the bracket. Do you have an idea of kind of where they're pointing with this, or like what you'd like to see from them other than what happened with this?
Let me look at it again. I remember seeing it last week. prepping and not being able to be here.
I got you, Professor. Hang on.
Where are the? Hang on, I'm gonna double check this.
You got it. No. It's just, the reason I bring it up is because we can go around on this all day about like the actual well put togetherness of the match, whether or not they were actually working together, anything else. You know, even down to the botched Aleister Black pose that Mercedes did in the middle of the freaking ring. Like someone who didn't.
Okay, here we go.
It's coming up. Like what you think about the brackets themselves and who you think might actually have a chance.
Yeah.
I know.
So
Go ahead, Mikey. Go.
So here's the two sides of the bracket. So on side A, we have Jamie Hayter versus Billy Starks as our quarterfinal in Block A. And then the second match in Block A is Thunder Rosa versus Chris Statlander. So Thunder versus Chris. And then, of course, on Block B, if you will, Julia lost to Mercedes. So Mercedes is in the semifinals. And then Harley Cameron versus Athena. I'm going to be completely real. As much as I have had my issues with her promos and Thunder's smite skills at the moment, I'm more invested in Block A because I'm like, you know what? I can make a case for any of these four to be the winner of Block A and go to the finals. Block B, you already told me that it's Mercedes versus Athena, and then one of them is going to the finals. I feel like these two could have had their own feud.
I agree. I love Harley Cameron. I want more Harley Cameron causing mischief and being that trickster spirit that AEW needs so much. So at least in the men's bracket, I have a little bit of suspension of disbelief. Like maybe any one of these you could pull a trigger. This one I know exactly who's in the end, and it's like, oh, that sucks.
Which their matches have been so much better than the men's ones, even worse.
Yeah, and that's tough. And I don't know if we're back to Tony Khan just doesn't know how to book the women or whoever's running this. We thought, and not to jump on this because we could go down this rabbit hole for a long time. We thought when Mercedes was getting here that it was going to change how the women were looked at and, you know, change the booking, change their status with all of this. And it's only taken a year to get it really muddier. And Mercedes now, it just feels like doesn't have any storyline, clout or power or things. One of the more interesting things, in my opinion, Mercedes Moné had was with Billy Stark backstage, throwing coffee at each other and like these sort of vignette skits and things like those were working. And then they just go, that was cool. And then they fart and run and they move on to the next thing. It's like, no, go.
Well, because we had 2 weeks of that. And then, you know, Billy got a chance to face Mercedes for the title instead of giving her a shot at a pay-per-view. And really that was just to set up Athena being brought over to AEW.
Yeah.
To have this feud, which is stupid. Anyways, I digress.
Mikey, I think you're right with this. We could have plucked Mercedes and Athena out, had their own little thing on the side, stuck Willow and Marina Shafir in, who have been on TV for the last couple weeks in this tournament, and we'd be fine. And seeing Willow take on Julia Hart, Marina take on Athena.
Rematch, yes. There's history between Julia and Willow.
I don't think we should have. We'll talk about this, I'm sure. I don't think we needed to shoehorn Megan Bayne, Toni Storm. You could put Megan Bayne in here and then jump to Toni Storm.
You could have, but you had no one else to face Toni Storm right now.
Then there's that.
When we get to their match, I will say, well, I also have a little, like we talked about before, Megan Bayne being the one to challenge Toni here. Right. I was not as mad about that, especially how the match went and how we ended, because that still leaves the door open for Megan to maybe get a rematch down the line. But, you know, Toni doesn't like to give women rematches, but I'm just saying. But yeah, Julia Hart ruled, but wrong person won is basically our final thoughts on this match. So let us move on to, did anyone else really think that Rated FTR was going to walk out as champions in here? Like, I saw some people be like, I can't believe they did this. They should have won. It was all there. I'm like,
yeah, they're not watching wrestling then.
We're far enough. I'm like, bitch, where? Like,
I think if you were a contrarian, you wanted to see them win so they could have the titles and then have the breakdown with the titles for some reason. But that just doesn't logically, not that logic comes into it, but it didn't logically work in that respect. Also, how long has it been in wrestling where we have two people in the same match with Wheeler in their name, which gets me so freaking confused.
That's so odd.
It's confusing to review everybody together in this event. Also, this graphic of Yuta's hair is wild to me. It's like, what is happening? Look, Wheeler, if you're going to have this hair long, might I add, you get like one of those like sports bands to get at least put it over your eyes, bro. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, my acting students love to do that just to hide from vulnerability and judgment. Just sad. I've seen some clips of this match. The turn was kind of spoiled for me, but I don't hate it. I think it works.
It needed to happen. If it didn't,
needed to happen. It gives FTR something to do Right? I think they've been stuck in that tweener place for a long time where we were like, do something. And then putting Adam Copeland on top of that has never really felt right. At least to me, it's just felt kind of shoehorned in there. Why do they like each other at all? Kind of thing.
Professor, lest we forget, we did have something for them. And whether it was them or management, we got the short-lived run with Outrunners. And I'm just like, we never got to see the fullest potential. And I was like,
been so good.
And we know, listen, I don't want to say this was the reason, but somewhere in my little mind, in the back of my head, something is telling me that because it was so queer coded, the way that we were getting these interactions, like somebody was like, nope, we can't do that, which is wild because we know at least Dax and Cash, and they're all about, they're allies in the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
Especially Dax, bro. Like, listen, AEW Burt Reynolds is right here. Like, we never got the full potential. And if I remember correctly, I forgot who it was, but we also had FTR be with somebody that could have been fun, but we never got the full potential. And that's AEW's biggest problem when it comes to tag teams and trios. They don't let them realize and have fun little factions. People are like, what storylines are happening here? Sometimes wrestling just needs to be fun. Now, granted, am I all here for a more darker FTR? Absolutely. I think the potential can be there. But if I know AEW as well as I do at this point, in my head, Copeland should not be seen on television for like a month or two, because let us forget about him for a little bit, have FTR go on a tear, and then have Cope come back to screw them out of something major. But knowing AEW, I wouldn't be surprised if literally this week or next week, Cope comes back to television. I'm like,
keep him out, have him in the hospital, have some specific turtleneck wearing pop-up visit him and turn him to the dark side.
See, that's a few people have been saying, is this the moment where we finally get Adam? And no, I don't.
If we officially had the breakup between the patriarchy, yes. But we haven't even done that yet.
Right. So you've kind of, I heard this match was solid. Everyone worked really well together. They told us.
Oh, it was.
It was great.
It was a trios match. They should do more like this because everyone worked really well on it. And FTR Bald and FTR Actual Assault was like.
I think the issue now is, again, and we say this a lot, you've written yourself a new corner to make this choice. Unless you already know where you're going 6 months from now, which I don't do.
No.
What are you going to do?
Not use trios on TV for another 6 months?
Yeah, and just take it out of the closet every now and then put them back. Like, okay, I'm
going to wait until we get to the main event because I have a theory. I don't think AEW would do this because it makes too much sense. But I have a theory, and we're going to put a pin in the Death Riders for a little bit, and then we're going to come back to them when we talk about the main event.
But yes, your AEW World Trios Champions are still Death Riders.
Yes. Anyways, so we move on from this. Of course, like we talked about leading into this, FTR go darker and turn on Cope. Dembo is thick.
This was done in a very strange way. Kind of fun where you don't know that Bash Wheeler is going to support this. And then out of nowhere, they pull Cope into the Shatter Machine. So they take him down together. And after
two concertos.
Yeah, oh my God.
Two concertos later.
Oh no! But what you didn't show here is before this, Cash getting on the backboard and kicking Cope off of there and putting on the neck brace, and them being little shits, which is the best thing in the world. Screwing everybody and being those guys.
Listen, I need them to carry this energy because who knows when we'll see how long they last as these heels.
We've needed FTR Dark for a while, even though we have a return at the end that could keep them not being. I don't know. The tag team division is so messed up right now.
A lot of the divisions in AEW make no sense. For the most part. So let's move on. So everything up to this point has been fine, but I don't care what you two say about this. To me, this was definitely one of my highlights. This was this was in my top 3 matches of Dynasty for the AEW Women's World Championship. Toni Storm versus the Mega Sis Megan Bayne.
The Rocky montage for her coming in and Luther dressed as Burgess Meredith, while Tony Schiavone tried to do a Burgess Meredith impression on a commentary. Like, seriously, love every bit of this.
According to, I'm not sure who I'm reading right now, I'll figure that out in a minute. There was a moment in the crowd where everyone said, oh my God, Tony's going to drop it to Bayne.
Hey, really? Megan made me believe she could have won this
there
match.
Was a good, building off her no sell from last month. And they were all like,
sold
oh my
God. Music. And
they were like,
she did Sweet Cheek Music, Bayne no sold it. She did it 3 more times and then a Storm Zero, and Bayne kicked out at 1.
Wow.
Yeah, so they made Bayne strong in this. They also set Toni Storm up for Dynamite, which I'm looking forward to, for more innuendo about small packages. Because winning with a roll-up and getting that small package schoolboy pin to pull it out, sneak one past her because she couldn't beat her is brilliant. It worked in this match. And
this picture,
earlier one in the night, it would have been perfect.
This picture shows that Tony realized that she actually could have lost the title. Like, this is at the end of the match. Tony's like, oh, damn, Megan almost got me and I barely won.
I'm excited to watch this one. This is from What Culture. This is a different page. She almost came off as a modern day China in terms of actual stature and size differential, which to say that out loud is like, whoa.
Well, and then so why does she need Penelope Ford out there licking Tony Storm? But then you got the great moment where Luther's like, all right, the ref's not dealing with Penelope. No one else is. I'm just going to pick her up on my shoulders and walk her out. So he takes Penelope Ford out, which is perfect. Wasn't there a move where Bane knocked Luther down and Tony vaulted off his back to do a crossbody off of Luther?
What?
Oh my goodness. No, so yeah, this match was great. Like, honestly, this was probably one of my favorite matches of the whole entire card.
Apparently only 2.5 weeks of storyline and it still works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still sets Megan Bane up, even though she doesn't have a spotless record. She has reason to come back at her. She could wreck house somewhere else. I don't think she's going to leave Tony alone. I think she's going to keep, like, not begging for a rematch, but like showing her and wrecking things around her, which is a great way, like, basically becoming Clubber Lang. They did make a Thunder Lips reference, and they go, guys, we're not going that route. Go Clubber Lang.
No, they didn't. Did they really?
They called her Thunder Lips for a second. They go, wait a second, no.
So Tony Khan usually doesn't like to give women rematches, but I feel like Megan, I don't want to say it's the exception, but the way that she lost, I feel like warrants the door to stay open for Megan to get a rematch, whether that's at Double or Nothing, or we wait until Y'all in Texas. So I just don't want Megan to disappear. Well, I mean, she'll be disappearing next week, but that's different because she is booked for lots of shows in Vegas.
Go figure.
That we get to watch, so stay tuned for those announcements tomorrow. But again, this ended up being in my top 3 of the night and probably my favorite match of the whole entire card, if I'm gonna be completely honest anyways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This match, I had no issues with. I loved it. I'm happy to see Tony carry the title more, but also Megan didn't lose in a very definitive way. And they actually built Megan Bane and kept Megan Bane, and even losing, she still looks strong. She lost because of a surprise roll-up instead of like a definitive finisher from Tony Storm.
After no-selling all of her signature moves
and kicking out at one, like you said. I was like...
Part of that's the, Rocky versus almost a Draco Malfoy. Totally different joke. Ivan Drago, right? Fighting that pure underdog thing, and Megan Bane fits that storyline.
She does, and she also has not said much, if at all, throughout this entire thing. She's been that silent assassin. I wonder if this kind of like breaks her out, like Penelope's trying to sell it, and she just breaks, no! And she comes after that, or, whatever it ends up being. But there is so many places they can go with this, and they found a talent. She kind of fits, I hate to put it this way, she slots into where Jade Cargill was, but she's actually talented.
I was just going to say something similar, yeah.
Yeah, so tune in Sunday where we talk this Sunday as we talk about, how Jade's going to do. But fantastic match from both of these women. I want a rematch either at Double or Nothing, or I don't think they would do it at Forbidden Door. No, Forbidden Door's in August, sorry. Yeah, Y'all in. So those are probably the 2 places where we're going to go with this. But we move on from this match. We get into another Owen Hart qualifier. This is the 4. I hate that they put the 4 here, by the way. It was so stupid that they put it there. But this is a Owen Hart men's tournament quarterfinal. We have the proto star, Kyle Fletcher, taking on the Sussex County chicken himself, Mark Briscoe. This was a great Dynamite match.
It was an amazing Dynamite match. And, Briscoe gave it everything he had. Kyle kind of let him run himself out and then kicked another gear in to take this where it needed to. It was perfection in that respect.
Also, time out really quickly. I do have to say at the beginning of the match, when the ref wouldn't let Briscoe use the chair to jump over to Kyle, and then, of course, I love the AEW mics. We could audibly hear Briscoe, boo this man!
Yeah. I also heard another take on this today, I think from either Wrestle Talk or someone else, saying that it would be amazing, because Briscoe has just been on a losing streak since losing the ROH title. Have him continue it. Like, he be in the right state of mind right now to be like proud of a losing streak. And like continuously racking up on losses until he finally wins one. Because I don't think he needs wins right now.
I think if he can perform the way he does, you don't need to be winning. You're still the crowd's favorite no matter what. And we're always hoping for you to win, which is very rare in pro wrestling. Like very rarely is, because even Brooklyn Brawler was still like, oh, you're here, you're going to lose. I still watch Mark Briscoe and go, oh yeah, well, he could win. They could just say, yeah, you're winning.
Him, Eddie Kingston, people like that, definitely.
Yeah, the fact that he's a recent ROH champion, which who knows what happened in ROH, like sort of, like, oh, you were a champion, but you lose all the time. Fine. I'm hearing everyone loved this. Everyone, and it was just sort of like, oh, that was great.
It was a solid match, but I don't think a pay-per-view was the place to do it.
No.
But it was still
especially when it's already 4 hours long.
Jeez Louise.
Yep. Yeah, this could have been done on Dynamite this week.
It definitely could have. But again, solid match between these two. Protostar wins. He moves on to the semifinals, and I'm just like, listen, AEW, I love y'all, but if you give me Will versus Kyle again, I'm like, then what was the steel cage match for? I'm like, keep them separated for a little bit.
But own heart,
Anyways, moving on. So, after this match, y'all...
living hell.
Okay, before we talk about the match itself, I'm going to preface by saying this. The initial finish almost had me throw things at my television.
It wasn't needed.
It was shenanigans for shenanigans.
Yes, but it didn't build anything about it afterward. It sucked the air out of the room, and then no one cared.
I was just like, that was whack.
Does Jericho need for anything else at this point? Like, the chants of please retire are getting louder and louder.
Oh, the crowd was so against Jericho, so I do have to give Philly that credit. I was just like, Philly, y'all get this. So, really quickly, though.
He comes out this week on a podcast and says he's considering maybe going back to WWE again. Go, please.
No, stay away. So,
did he really?
Did.
That, I hope not. That's going to be miserable.
Get him out of there.
Jericho
Everyone hated this. Like every
the initial finish. Okay, so before we get into all of that, I do need to set this up. This is for the ROH Championship, the Ring of Honor World Championship, and this was title versus mask. Jericho wins. Bandito has to lose his mask, which already had a big issue with me because I'm like, this is not CMLL. American companies doing mask up for grabs as stakes as part of the matches do not respect the rules and the tradition and the cultures of Lucha Libre. If Bandito wins, he becomes champion, which, is also a plus for me because nobody needs to see Jericho win. But this first finish where Jericho uses the bat because, Bryce Remsburg is being distracted in all of this
by Brian Keith hobbling down and then Gravity in a new mask attacking Brian Keith.
It was wild, and, that was crazy. But while all that was going down, Jericho uses his baseball bat to knock out Bandito, and then he rolls, like, the longest 30 seconds to get to the pin. I'm like, Jericho, what the flip are you doing? Get into the pin, bro! And so Jericho pins him. The crowd is booing. Everybody is angry. I was about to throw things. I was throwing explicitives at my TV. I was about to throw physical things at my TV and turn it off. But then the angelic choir began to sing because Bandito's sister and mother get into the ring.
No. I'm going to back this up. They pull Aubrey Edwards over, who was not involved in the match. She, I think, came down to separate Bandito and
she tried. She really did try.
But she's not reffing the match. They're pointing out the fact the bat's on the ground. On commentary, Taz is going, Nigel's going, there's no replay, there's nothing else. And they somehow convince Aubrey to walk them into the ring to then talk to Bryce Remsburg.
Who then goes to Justin Roberts, who then says this match, because of the bat and the disqualification, this match needs to be restarted, which then we get an extra 30 seconds of Bandito being able to hit his finisher move to win and become the ROH champion without having to lose his mask.
But the crowd was mild. They didn't care. They were already pissed. Nothing for it. On top of the fact, just going out of kayfabe, you have now completely screwed every heel finish you're going to, no matter what you do to sell, this is a one-time thing. You have now screwed over the fact that if the babyface doesn't call for a replay or someone in the crowd doesn't every single time, and this doesn't get overturned, then they're a dumb babyface and they should know better.
So the problem with, and I looked this up so I could remember, so I can get my wrestling terms right. But this is called the Dusty finish, right? Dusty Rhodes made this popular in the territories. The reason it doesn't work now is because we have the internet and TV and we watch 5-6 shows a week. This only works if you have the Carnival Barker thing. This would work for maybe a GCW, right? Because the numbers are different, right? It's I have to get the heel champion over a certain way, and I have to get this underdog justice, righteous, whatever. I really got to get sympathy for him or whatever it is, and you can do that 100 different ways. It doesn't work in 2025 because, like you said, because now you're creating, these are new rules. So these are the rules? Oh, okay, great. And then why don't we just do that with every single match?
Yeah, that's the point. Like, if you as the babyface don't have that, or someone in your corner to do that for, you're an idiot. Like, it brings down your entire babyface lineup that they won't take advantage of this. On top of the fact, it wasn't that, like, someone told Bryce Remsburg, who was the ref, to look around and find this, which I've seen that as a Dusty finish where he catches them in the act just afterwards. You've got a separate referee who wasn't involved to go talk to the referee about this while the commentators are saying there's no replay. We don't do that. Like, all of them were saying this, not just the heel commentator. And then they overturn it. And this is after Jericho botched, I don't think on purpose, I think he's just old, botched the initial transition where Bandito nearly hit his finisher and didn't, could not sell shit, could not do anything, and the match went on too long, and you killed the crowd. Like, I don't get this.
I'm hearing also from This Is Fightful that the announcers seem to dislike it.
Yeah.
Like, you could hear it in the tone of what they were saying. Like, that was dumb.
Yeah.
Like, did they not know?
I think they were finally getting it in there that they could say it because it's finally there. And this makes me think, was this a Tony call? Was this Tony and Jericho together? And they had been told, like, don't do this. And they still did. I mean, even Bandito seemed like he wasn't into half the match. He's like, I don't want to be here.
Look, am I happy that Bandito is champion? Yes, but you know darn and good well we're probably going to get a rematch at Super Card of Honor in a couple of weeks.
No, not at all. Please. Anything but.
I hope not, but crazier things have happened. But this was my low point of this. Well, actually, at this point of the show, I was like, this sucked really badly.
I'm going to say this. This made the main event look like a WrestleMania main event.
That's wild.
I would watch the main event over this any day.
You're kind of right.
I'm jumping over to What Culture. They had a great line on this. While it was a cute idea to have Bandito's family involved in the finish, the execution wasn't great and made him look weaker by needing them to save him from an actual pinfall loss. That's not what you wanted.
I think it would have helped instead of having that whole thing happen after that. You have Bandito's sister or mom like take the bat from Jericho.
Yeah.
We normally do when we get these things. They take the weapon, which allows Bandito to hit his finisher and win.
Yes. Don't have the Jericho win finish. He didn't need it.
That was wild to me that he even won. I was like, the fact that Bandito by the end of this walks away as champion, I was just like, there was no need for Jericho to win, period.
Well, and this is what gets me about this entire thing around Jericho and the Learning Tree. He's probably making the backstage argument, well, people are talking about me and everyone's talking about this. It's bad, but they're talking about, like, I'm getting ratings, everything's going. I need to be there and doing this because it's drawing eyes. And all this is not heat on a heel that people don't like. This is go away X-Pac heat. Like, you don't need to be here. You're boring. And you're bothering us because you're eating up time we could have watching amazing matches that are on 0 Hour that are better than this.
Yeah. While I am happy to see Bandito get his championship back from Chris Jericho, and Jericho is no longer the ROH World Champion, it's like, I did not feel it.
He's going to have an hour-long promo on Dynamite.
Oh, God, I hope not. Anyway, let's move on. So I feel so bad for these two because this had to follow it. Because on paper, and by the end of this match, I did like this match. It just sucked that it had to follow what we witnessed beforehand.
Where the crowd was like out of energy. This was.
Yeah. And one of the reviews I watched, they were saying this was a great match. And it's sort of like, I want to care, but everyone was so defeated because now we're hour 3.
At this point,
just saw what we saw. We're going into this and we're like, okay, I care a little bit. Like they were just brain overload by this point. That's a shame because apparently this was really good.
This was the bathroom break and people took it as such, which it should have been the last match, or people were having major issues and they were in there for 2 matches, but it was also a slower paced match, which was what you expected from Garcia and Cole because of a ground-based stuff. There was a lot. I mean, I loved the thought of Garcia not being able to overcome Cole enough that he had to start stealing his moves to try to beat him. And he still couldn't do it that well. He did the boom. He did the Panama Sunrise. Daniel Garcia doing those things, like who's not flashy like that. It was crazy and really well put together. It would have been on any other night. This would have been a solid mid-card match, like middle of the card. Awesome. Following that travesty, you had nobody.
They set these two up to fail, and I'm so mad because these two deserve much more than that. Because again, the match itself was really solid. Both of them worked really well. I love Garcia having to be more aggressive, and then he, again, like you said, JBL, he had to start pulling out Adam Cole's moves to try to beat him. But of course, it wasn't enough because Adam Cole gets him and then becomes the new TNT champion, which I'm excited for. I know a lot of people have crapped on Adam Cole since coming to AEW. I am not of that persuasion. I think that Adam Cole still has some good stuff in the tank left. He just needs to be set up properly to do so. And hopefully as TNT champion, it will allow him to do so. But I also don't have hope because we look at Garcia's title reign, and as excited as I was when he won that title at All Out last year, his championship reign was thrown on the back burner and was sacrificed for everything else going on in AEW.
Now, Professor, you've seen clips and stuff of the 2 matches leading up to this too. Like, from what you got out of it, what you saw, do you think this even lived up to the fact that it had to be the rubber match?
Did this have to be the rubber match?
Yeah. Was this what they should have done for the rubber match? Like, it seemed like it was maybe what they would have done in the middle, at least to me.
Yeah, I agree. I what's hard is I like these two, right? Yeah. So it's sort of like I agree. You know, we didn't really give Daniel Garcia any storylines other than here's a title. Don't get beat up by MJF again. Go. I think there was a missed opportunity here. I think they could have done way more with this. I'll say this, and this is going to be callous, and I haven't watched all of this, so this isn't fair. It felt like a participation trophy for Adam Cole. It feels like we know you've been through some stuff. We know your wife's going through whatever. Here's the title. Shut up. Right? And I hope that's not true. I hope it's not we feel bad. Take this for a few months. Okay. At the expense of Daniel Garcia, who should be and kind of is your future if done correctly. I don't know. It feels like these 4-hour pay-per-views, anything after 2 hours and 50 minutes, there's a big dip. And unless you have something amazing right here or a break or something baked in to take the edge off, whatever's in the spot's going to suffer. And usually it's the women. This time it wasn't the women's match. It was these two. And so I think it stands out a little more.
You know, I know I know AEW is a Western wrestling company. I would not be mad if they adopted, I don't know, the Stardom and the New Japan, or even the Progress Pro Wrestling, where you do half the card, then take like a 15 to 20 minute intermission break, and then come back to the action later.
WWE does that. They have for WrestleMania and Rumble and all that stuff. There's these big intersections, and we kind of roll our eyes, but that's why they're there.
Which is crazy to say. AEW, I feel like, Also, by the way, I'm going to talk about this again at the very end. I was happy with the 6 matches that we had when we made predictions. And then literally 24 hours later, we got 4 more added. And I was just like, gosh darn it. It was like, we did not need all these matches. 10 matches on Dynasty was too much.
10 matches that we picked 9-1 and 8-2, knowing what they were going to do, right? Like your mystique's already gone. We know what you're going to do, but I'm still here for the journey. Don't blow it.
Yeah. Also, side note, I want to shout out these two right here for dealing with all the extra text messages I had to send. Be like, okay, this just dropped, and then this just dropped. I hate AEW sometimes when making prediction forms because I'm like, they don't give us everything before the pay-per-view, and then they load up the card the day of, so then I'm scrambling to text folks to get picks in, so I at least have a shiny graphic to post on the socials.
So that you can say that you won. We get it. We understand.
And I picked Adam because I thought they're going to screw Daniel Garcia, and I kind of make some of these picks every now and then, hoping I'm wrong. Like, I don't want to be right, but I think this is what's coming, and that's kind of what we got.
No, I stood 10 toes down. I knew Adam was going to win.
Whereas I went the former professor route, which is I'm going to vote with my heart here that Daniel needs to, and didn't.
Your heart betrays you.
Crazy, for sure. But now I'm a little worried to see what happens with Danny over here with Garcia afterwards.
Where does it go?
I don't know. The social media also was very interesting. Again, they're probably going to show it this week, hopefully. But Daddy Magic was not happy with Garcia, and he was yelling at him, not for losing the title, but for like wanting to give up and just like being blah. So hopefully we will see an upward trajectory. And I'm going to talk about you, Daniel, when we talk about the main event, because I have this crazy theory. AEW wouldn't do it, but here's what I would like to see. And you're involved in bringing down the Death Riders, but we're going to talk about that when we get to the main event. Because before that, we do have to talk about what ended up being the semi-main event, which was our International Championship 3-way. This should have been the main event. This match slapped. This was also in my top 3. We have Kenneth Omega defending his title against Speedball Mike Bailey. and Trevor the Vampire, also known as Ricochet.
And speaking of slapped, it definitely slapped multiple times on Ricochet's bald ass head.
That was so good. Literally, they had a spot towards the beginning of this match where Ricochet dies out of the way, gets kicked for it, and then Speedball Mike Bailey just comes up and goes, bald, and then Kenny Omega's like, bald, just like. Also, Ricochet has the best memes because now this is my favorite meme.
Oh my God, yeah.
Where he gets on the commentary.
Speedball Mike Bailey's foot coming in to take his head off right there.
He gets on commentary, he begins talking, and the
just stands there and takes it.
The camera people knew what they were doing. Speedball Mike Bailey's foot comes into frame and knocks Trevor upside the head.
Yeah, and he sold it beautifully.
Oh my gosh, this match was so good.
This is one the internet seems to be torn on. Have either of you followed this or talking about this at all?
Yeah.
Yep.
Fightful and What Culture disagree on this. What Culture was there in the audience saying that people in the crowd were not interested in this, which I find ridiculous hard to believe after Simon Miller and Fightful were saying this was amazing, whereas other folks in there were not. And then somebody else on Reddit was saying, like, yeah, I could have gone without this. I'm like, this sounds like the best thing ever. These are 3 great tastes. What are you talking about? So I'm wondering why.
The crowd was dead still. They were tired, and they got this and it juiced them back up, but it took them a while to get into it at the top of it. Like, you could hear it was really kind of cold, and they were healed up by like breaking up Mike Bailey's kicks and a couple things in between. But then they finished the spot afterwards and it was kind of weird. But overall, it was well paced. Everything worked really well. Even Kenny Omega's boob window was great.
I forgot about that.
His new wearing attire, Professor, he comes out, has a big Omega symbol, but it's basically Power Girl's boob window in the Omega symbol for his thing.
It's amazing.
So this match was fantastic. This went for 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes, which was actually kind of great. It didn't feel like 30 minutes, to me at least. It was fast paced. All 3 men did great. And I am kind of happy Ricochet ends up getting pinned here. Kenny retains the International Championship, which allows Speedball not to get pinned and an opportunity to want to get a rematch with Kenny down the line, since he was the one that didn't get pinned in this.
But also an inventive way to do that too.
Right. He's hanging upside down because his feet gets tied up in the turnbuckle ropes and everything, which was great. And he's trying to reach for Ricochet as Kenny's pinning him in front of him, but can't reach him in time.
This is after an avalanche one-winged angel too.
It was so good. Crazy. Yeah, so this is also my top 3. This, the 6-man on 0 Hour, and then Megan. Actually, no. Will and Kevin, this match, and Megan and Tony are probably my 3 favorite watch.
Hearing you two talk about it, I'm wondering why so many folks were down on this for some reason.
I will say, watching it live, I was also tired because we were hitting almost at 9 o'clock by the time this match was over.
Sure. And the What Culture review here is talking about folks in the crowd not being interested in any of the jokes and just watching things on their phone until the main event shows up. But then other folks are talking about, no, this was the thing that got me to watch again after checking out during Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole. So I don't know, but I like all 3.
In that respect, the crowd got back into it for the most part. But again, for the crowd, it was 11 o'clock at night when this is happening, almost 11:30, like on the East Coast. They were tired, so like you were giving it the best you could. But I could see that also, like, people probably checking, like, do I leave now to get home? Like, do I need to use the train?
Is traffic gonna be bad? Like, listen, that's always the biggest problem when you are going to a live event. Is like, do I wait until the very end or do I leave now because I'm about to fight lots of people out this parking lot?
That's why you don't go to a place like that. You go and, like, stay in a hotel nearby, and you don't have to go anywhere. You can just, like, stay for the whole thing.
Or you stay at a friend's house. That's what I do most of the time. Or if you're crazy like I do, you do a red eye and you shoot back straight home. Listen, I have done it many of times. Everybody here has heard our red eye after night 2 of Mania at SoFi back here. We got home at 11:30 at night. I'm about to do it again at the end of April.
Jesse and I drove back from Montreal and got home around 2 a.m. after Elimination Chamber that night. And it was like,
that's crazy.
11 is bad. Trying to go through the U.S. border. Yes, 3 years ago at like 2 a.m, and Jesse sitting next to me saying he's going to ask for his gun because he doesn't own one. But he thought he was going to ask the guard for that.
That's right. I forgot about this story. I also remember too.
Story later. Jesse and I at the border in 2023 was disturbed.
We'll talk about it afterwards. We're going to talk about it because I want you to hear the story, Professor. Also, I love that also during that Elimination Chamber, simultaneously, me, Evan, and the Professor had a 3-way call talking about the whole entire show too for like 30 minutes. It was great. But you have to pay for the Patreon to find out that answer. Anyways, so Kenny retains his championship, but this part. So Okada comes out.
This
we already know this. We knew this was going to happen. We're getting y'all in Texas. This is going to be a match. This even adds more fuel to the rumors that we're about to, unify these two championships. And surprisingly, Kenny's the one to kind of get out of there. He's like, I'm out.
Yeah, no, he didn't stay around. He's like, oh no, I'll give it to you. I got no more left for you. Kenny has, in the best way, started to play up the fact that he's mortal after the whole thing. He's like, yeah, I'm not about Machine anymore. I'm Kenny Omega. Look at my boobs.
At least on AEW television. Meanwhile, in New Japan against Gabe Kidd, literally both of those men were throwing each other around. That Dynasty match still lives rent-free in my head.
But yes, we are going toward Y'all In, where they are going to be combining these titles. And honestly, I don't know who's going to win.
I don't either. That's the crazy part.
It could be more interesting if Okada wins, personally.
Again, playing off that Kenny is mortal. He is not the one-winged angel, at least not as much as he was before the diverticulitis.
Well, but on top of the fact also, Okada has more wins against him. Like, Kenny's only beaten him twice.
And for their New Japan run, and both of them in New Japan, Okada has usually gotten the best of Kenny every time in New Japan.
Exactly.
So this could be fun, or they can royally fuck it up. Listen, there's no in between with AEW. They either do great or they fuck it up.
Oh, like this last match, which I don't want to have to go far to. You know what? Swerve worked really well in this. I love his wrestling in this, but still.
Okay, before we talk about the match, shout out to Blackness. That Static Shock intro, though, was so damn good.
Yes.
Low-key, if we're going to have somebody play Static Shock, I wouldn't be mad if they want to pick Swerve for it. My goodness, I love the entrance. I love the fit. It is great. Okay, I want to give props first because I actually did like the first maybe 3/4 of this match before we got everyone and their mother running in towards the end. I definitely think, and I think that's because it's Swerve. I think that Swerve does better in working with Moxley and carrying him from point A to point B during this match than Cope did, so I wasn't as bored during this match.
I don't think either of them needed to carry each other. I think they trusted enough that it was actually going to work versus I'm pretty sure with Cope matches, because of his age, it's like, okay, you're going to need to get your 5 moves in. How do we build a story around that?
Right. And it seemed like Moxley was actually interested in the match, which is crazy to say. But I think he kind of has to be because Swerve is about that life.
Some wrestlers talk about being old school, right? In the sense of like, you take a bump like that, I'll hit you for real type stuff, like things like that. And some wrestlers still carry over that sort of tradition, or some folks are mailing it in for whatever reasons like that. I like Jon Moxley a lot. I
feel like there's like something to do with the way he looks. I can't.
There's something about.
Yeah, something about that face and no.
Unemployed stepdad with a V-neck. Yeah, I agree with. I think someone's like Swerve's like, I don't care, bring it or I'm gonna hurt you, like sort of thing. I don't know. I know.
Swerve is causing problems in the ring, and you didn't hear about this? Okay,
no.
Really quick. Swerve has beef with Booker T, and so again, the internet.
I saw. There was a video about this. I didn't click it.
After Dynasty went off the air, Swerve cuts a promo and then ends it with, and you know what, to end this promo, fuck Booker T.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it off air, like all the what transpired, why this is happening, all that good stuff.
And Booker's to blame for this.
Honestly, again, and Professor laughed when I said this, but I'm going to keep saying is Booker for WWE is shucking and jiving because Master said so. Like, literally, that is what is happening.
Oh, no.
You cannot tell me I'm wrong.
I'm not. This makes me sad.
Anyways, so the match itself, the first 3/4 of this match was really solid. Swerve and Moxley were doing really good. And then we get AEW's version of the Super Smash Brothers roster reveal, because this is what happens. First, of course, Marina Shafir eats from Mox, which was great.
It's a cutter. She ate the cutter.
It was so good. I loved it. Then Death Riders come out. Well, first, we have Hangman Aggro Page gets into the ring, and he first looks at Swerve, but then he looks at Moxley, and he looks conflicted. I was like, is he about to help Swerve? But then the Death Riders come in. They start beating up 3-on-1 on Hangman. Then the Ops out of nowhere show up to push back the Death Riders and fight them to the back. I was like, oh crap, this is crazy.
Still a dumb name. Still the dumbest name.
The Ops.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Is it a dumb name? Yes. Do I want them on my side in a bar fight? Yes.
Are you down with the OPPs?
You know me. So at this point, I should have known better, but I was like, oh damn, I'm like, Swerve might actually win this, or some shenanigans. Honestly, had Moxley beat Swerve here, I would have been mad, but not as mad. But then the lights go out, and literally, I was going to post a video on social media, but I decided not to because I recorded myself in that moment saying, oh, fuck. I was like,
to add to this, Simon Miller's take on this was the funniest.
Simon
He's doing
Miller's-
ups and downs, and he goes, and the lights go out, and the Undertaker appears, or at least somebody appeared in the ring.
So lights go out. I'm like, oh, fuck. Swerve is not going to win this thing. And I'm like, all right, let's see who's coming out. Let's see what happens.
Oh.
Gosh darn it. Okay, Young Bucks come out. They hit the EVP trigger on Swerve. Moxley is able to pin him 1, 2, 3. Your winner and still AEW World Champion is Jon Moxley. Now, again, after all that went down with the whole interferences and anything, had Mox still been able to pull something crazy to win against Swerve, be mad, but not as mad as this. Because I'm like, weren't so I'm like, I already know where this is going. You gonna tell me on Wednesday or on Collision that EVPs are now working and they've been working with the Death Riders the whole entire time. I'm like, what kind of bullshit is this?
The internal logic doesn't work at all. They needed a pop to bring them back, and they put them in the weirdest place.
Also, we kind of closed the chapter of Swerve feuding with the Bucks. That's what the Blood and Guts match was. So I'm just like,
are they going to call their team SIDS?
Oh, I'm just kidding. Oh Lord, Doggo was not ready for the.
Doggo was not prepared for a well-timed SIDS joke. No, that was out of nowhere.
For SIDS, it kind of happens automatically.
So I was just like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. This is how this match is going to end. And it surely did. And listen, we don't have to reiterate how the internet felt about this. For the second pay-per-view in a row this year, and the third since World's End, the main event has been doo-doo, and the ending has been doo-doo.
Who do they have left that can ostensibly beat Moxley now?
Nobody! You literally had so either you have had everybody lose who's a contender, or the other people who were involved are out on injury. Couldn't get it done, but this brings up to what I was alluding to earlier. I honestly think it's none of these bigger upper card main event players that are going to bring Moxley back down. I have a theory. I have a conspiracy theory. AEW's not going to do this, but let me tell you. So because of a certain person losing their championship this evening, and another pair of individuals, a tag team who has been off of our television screen since losing their championships, because they teased them at the very beginning of this whole Death Riders feud. We thought the conglomeration were going to do that. That didn't happen because everybody got busy and distracted with other things. Because Moxley's, and I put this in air quotes, so please take this with a grain of salt. His whole argument is that people get distracted in this roster and don't focus on the important things. We thought it was Swerve, but Hangman has been creeping in the background. We thought it was Cope, and now he's having issues with FTR and all that stuff. I honestly think the Death Riders are going to be dismantled by the younger kids who are in this roster, which includes a Daniel Garcia, a Private Party, and when he's done returning from Mount Everest, a Darby Allin. That is the only person I think is left to truly take Moxley out and also get his lick back because he got pushed down the stairs from Mox and Death Riders. Darby is the only person left, but now we're going to have Moxley hold his championship until Darby's done, hopefully, and return safely, hopefully, from climbing Mount Everest, hopefully. Honestly, I would love to see Private Party and Garcia be the ones to... Listen, we're teasing the Ops and the Death Riders for the Trios Championships. I don't think AEW would be cool to let the Ops hold those championships. So I think Daniel...
Not the dumbest name in professional wrestling. Like,
right.
Come on.
So I don't think they won't let Joe, Shibata, and Hook have those championships. So I am praying, again, AEW's not going to do this, but Daniel Garcia, Private Party, and Darby are the force to go up to the Death Riders. Like they should have from the very beginning.
Book Dalton Castle, you bastards.
God, Dalton Castle as like the ringleader of all this would be fantastic. They're not going to.
Dalton Castle beating Jon Moxley for a title? Man, that'd be great.
In a perfect world, that is what happens. But they're not going to do it. AEW has kind of ran out of people. So then I'm just sitting here, I'm like, who's Mox going to face at Double or Nothing? Like,
Danhausen.
I feel like Hausen doesn't want to be here because he doesn't like any of the bullshit.
No, he does not. And he has said so multiple times.
I'll just go to indie places and do what I do and have fun. y'all just want to, I'll go where I'm respected.
I'm just throwing names out there at this point that have been on AEW TV at some point.
Yeah.
And honestly, Moxley might not even have a match at Double or Nothing because, again, the winner of the Owen Hart tournament, which will be crowned for the men and the women's tournament at Double or Nothing, will go on to Y'all In to fight Moxley. A lot of people are saying that now that Swerve got taken out, Will Ospreay has to be the savior. I'm like, do not put this championship on Will. I love Will. He does not need the world championship right now.
No, not yet.
And I shared this in the group chat about 6 or 7 months ago, and I think it's rearing its ugly head. A lot of the WWE complex that wrestlers who were there for a long time, particularly at the peak of Vince's third reign or whatever, they refuse to lose. They refuse to put anybody over. I'll make you look strong only if I look stronger. And if you give them your title, you're stuck. And they'll turn a whole locker room against you so they can keep a spotlight.
Yep.
And Moxley, I like Moxley a lot. It's making me not care.
I'm like, let Moxley go on a vacation. Like, he was supposed to go on vacation like a year and a half ago, but because of certain events, he had to come back, and he has not gotten a chance to be on vacation since.
Well, my hopefulness is that Bryan Danielson was backstage for the first time in a while.
Right.
This pay-per-view. He's starting to pop up more. I am hoping he might have his clout come back where he can start to work some magic and maybe get Mox out of his head and be like, dude, drop the title. Just drop the title. Jericho, retire.
Yeah. It's frustrating because, again, I said at the beginning, my biggest critique of this whole entire show leading into the main event is that was the fact that a lot of these matches didn't really have any storylines going into it. But despite like 1 or 2 matches, I actually thought this was a really solid show. But once again, just like Revolution, the ending really soured me. And I didn't want to give it lower than I did, but I gave Dynasty a low B, high B minus. Like, that is the middle of the range of what I gave on the report card, because I still enjoyed the show. But the Jericho and Bandito mask and the shenanigans that went down in that, the fact that we were fine with the 6 matches we had, but had to throw on Owen Hart tournament matches on this card just because. And then the Bucks being the ones to cost Swerve the title for no apparent reason was kind of wild to me. Dynasty was not a bad show, but I was very disappointed by the time it went off the air. I'm like, damn it. Once again, AEW, you fucked up the ending. Boys, final thoughts to Dynasty of AEW Dynasty? Cool. Dynasty. So, AEW will be back with their next pay-per-view of Double or Nothing over Memorial Day weekend, which I curse the wrestling gods because I have to cover 3 different pay-per-views and watch them over the Memorial Day weekend to prepare for the reviews, because in the order that they happen. So Memorial Day weekend happens. Thankfully, we have Monday off, so I will catch up because I will be gone that weekend, just like I normally am every Memorial Day weekend. So no live watch along for Double or Nothing. But during that Memorial Day weekend, that Tuesday is Double or Nothing review. The following night on Wednesday is NXT Battleground pay-per-view. And then on Friday is TNA's Under Siege from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Anyways. So yeah, that has been our review for AEW. So if you want to know what's coming up the rest of this week, we are coming to the end of a regular week here before next week pops off with all sorts of stuff. Tomorrow evening, you can catch a Double Dose review at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can catch the NXT crew review the penultimate episode of NXT before the Go Home show next week, as all roads are now heading towards Stand and Deliver. So,
yay!
Then at 8 p.m., you have CMLL. And then on Friday evening, you have at 9 p.m. Pacific for the next 9 weeks, you have the TNA crew as we review TNA as we get ready for Rebellion. So tomorrow on the social medias at 12 p.m. Pacific, please stay tuned because you will get all the announcements of what and who will be on all these events we got going on next week for WrestleMania weekend. So stay tuned for that. But the 3 of us got to get up on out of here because somebody may or may not be on the chopping block in a little bit.
Everything is fine.
There it is. But from all of us here at All Elite Insight and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Bi-Conic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you for a double dose of reviews tomorrow evening. But until then, and take care of yourself, love one another.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's going to happen next time? Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.